So the Packers defense just put up a very dominant performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, only holding them to 12 points. It was 6 before that final drive where they drove down the field and scored. But I want to take a look at these Packers defenders' grades. One guy in particular who really shut down. The ball wasn't really thrown at him, but I want to take a look at who allowed targets, who allowed receptions, and sort of how they played overall. So here we have PFF, and these are all the Packers defensive players. And here I have currently them ranked by grade. Devontae White actually had the highest grade out of all Packers players. He did only play in 7 snaps, 2 run defense snaps, and 5 pass rush snaps. And I saw the one clip going around Twitter of him on 1 pass rush snap. He did this nice little move, got in the backfield. So he had a nice pressure there, and because of that small sample size in that one great play, he got a very high grade. So that's good to see him, taking some steps forward as we come here into week 4. But I want to take a look at who was targeted the most and who played very well. First off, the guy I'm talking about, the topic of this video, is Eric Stokes. So here we have Eric Stokes, 76th grade, which is very good. He was only targeted 1 time in this entire game and allowed 1 reception for 6 yards. So Tom Brady wasn't even looking Eric Stokes' way, which shows, just how great he was playing in coverage this past week versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I want to take a look at Eric Stokes' his past 3 games. So his first game, he comes in and he allows 3 receptions for 49 yards. Not great, but then these past 2 weeks, he's played really well in coverage. Last week, only targeted twice overall, allowed 1 reception for 9 yards. And then this past week, as I already said, only 1 reception for 6 yards. These past 2 games hasn't allowed more than 10 yards in both of these games, which is great, especially now with Jair injured. We don't know how long it'll be. Came out yesterday and said it's not going to be a serious injury, supposedly, so hopefully he'll be back soon. But Eric Stokes played really well. One thing that's interesting, if you look here, Keyshawn Nixon came in, of course, at slot corner for the Packers. With Jair going down, Rasul Douglas mainly kicked outside, and Keyshawn Nixon came in addition this offseason. Also a big special teams player who had that nice, on punt return, punt coverage. Pat O'Donnell kicked it. Keyshawn Nixon had that nice catch at the 1-yard line, so he played well there. But he was targeted 9 times, and he allowed 8 receptions for 81 yards, so not a crazy great game. They gave him a 54.5 grade. He did have a few nice plays, 6 tackles overall, did have that forced fumble, and there was one play in there where, I can't remember exactly when it was in the game, but Brady throws a, pass to the end zone. Keyshawn Nixon was, playing great in coverage, had a nice break up there. So it wasn't all bad for Keyshawn Nixon. I thought overall the fact that he came in here when he probably didn't expect to play as much as he did. He played a pretty, I'd say an okay game overall. Still allowed 8 receptions for 81 yards. And then if we look here, Devondre Campbell, 9 receptions, 68 yards, but, he got targeted a lot because he's sitting there in the middle of the field, but still 70 coverage grade overall. And then one thing I found interesting that sometimes with these grades, I don't always understand. I think lots of times they do well. One thing I don't understand is that Quay Walker got a 36.3 grade, which is absolutely that means you played terribly. I don't think he played as terribly as a 36 grade from so far what I've watched, rewatching part of the first half so far and watching the game on Sunday. I don't think he played that poorly, but PFF seems to think he played very bad against the run. And not great in coverage. He allowed, 3 receptions for 48 yards. I think he looked pretty good against the run. He wasn't flying into the holes. He was there were a few plays I think where he, started to tackle Leonard Fournette. Fournette dragged him 5 yards. So I guess that could be why they see that. But something interesting I noted there. But overall, this Packers defense has looked really good these past 2 weeks after the first half versus the Vikings looking like a really bad defense. They've come back and started playing really well. So I just want to come in here, share a little bit of that information with you guys. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, Luke_Beller, for more Packers content, and I'll see you guys next time.